Hello, Void. Baby Rizzo's back. Well, I left the 70s. 1995 ain't looking much better. It's back. If anyone's jumping in at this point and hasn't seen me review the last film I talked about from this collection, I advise looking at Sorority House Vampires from Hell for just what I think of this collection. But we're going to talk about one on this one. And this one actually deals with the one that's pictured on the cover. Not that even IMDb has this picture. Now, that's what this movie is called. Take your pick. There's 3 different titles. So this collection itself, on the back, lists it as Ghost Gunfighter. And entertainingly enough, all these discs are double-sided. And this is the one that's on the back of Sorority House Vampires from Hell. This whole disc is great. Anyway, so Ghost Gunfighter. It's also, then you can't really find that one on IMDb. On IMDb, it is listed as High Tomb. But when you actually put this in and play it, it pops up with the title Last Chance. So this movie's having a bit of an identity crisis. And none of the names are that great. For Ghost Gunfighter, the ghost primarily uses a knife. Yeah. So Ghost Gunfighter isn't really the best title. Admittedly, when he was alive, he was sort of a gunfighter, in a make-believe kind of sense, but I digress. Last Chance is such a generic name that could be anything. So I suppose High Tomb might actually be the best title because it's a pun about high noon. Okay, so what is this movie about? Well, it's sort of like if the cast from Full House or Saved by the Bell went and got involved in a horror movie. It's sitcom sort of acting and comedy mixed with a kind of bloody horror film. And heck, even the font for Last Chance in the opening credits looks like something out of a sitcom 90s TV series. It ain't good. It ain't pretty. Not pretty to look at. So the makeup effects are bad. The ghost, if I don't even know how you want to call it, but I guess he's a ghost. Looks like they just put a bunch of zombie-ish makeup on the guy, and it's not even that good of makeup. I guess if I kind of go in close there, that's just a bad representation. This is better looking than the guy looks. Yeah, that's kind of what we're having to deal with here. So, this group of college kids, they look like they're in their mid-30s, so the movie tells me that they're college kids, at least on the back here, and they aren't talking about a school, but you can only barely pick out that they're college kids. Anyway, they're deciding to go to Mexico for the weekend, just because. So, they go on their trip to Mexico, stop for gas, get told of a handy shortcut, drive off, and the car breaks down. Next to a abandoned Old West sort of looking town. And they go in, and, well, people start vanishing. And, well, first they meet the guy who refers to himself as the caretaker, a senile sort of old man who insists nothing works, and nothing's ever worked since the 30s, so he gives them some food, puts them up for the night, and then the ghost appears and kills him. But not before he's all, I didn't tell him anything. So, the next day, that their car sabotaged, even worse, and the caretaker they find just the rotting corpse of, like it's been there for decades. They try to figure out what's going on and are attacked by the ghost. Now, his powers are sort of unknown. He seems to just use whatever's on hand to stab or kill someone, but he seems to be able to just teleport around. But he's also stuck reenacting the day of his death, particularly around noon. So, one girl gets injured pretty quickly, and then they decide they have to figure out what to do. So, one guy decides to walk off into the desert, despite them, whenever they walk off before, just warping back in on it weird spatially. And everyone else tries to investigate and figure out what's going on. They find out that the town is a movie set, and because nothing's real. So the ghost gunfighter is actually the ghost of an actor of a gunfighter who shot up everyone before being killed himself. Because his fiance left him for another actor. That's pretty much all of it. So they do what they can to break the cycle and then escape. Before, but half of our sitcom teens get butchered quite brutally, actually. And the blood effects, I say, were the only thing going for this movie. And they are generous with the blood. But that said, that's the only thing. Acting, no. It tries to be funny. It isn't. It's not as painful as Sorority House Vampires from Hell, but it's a lot more boring. Sorority House Vampires from Hell is a train wreck you just have to stare at. This one, I was almost falling asleep during. There's nothing really to wake you back up either. It's just none of them seem very. The acting's very lowball. Like, once they realize their friends are dying, they don't really emote it very much. It's just like, someone's dead, okay, run around for a little bit, but then they'll go back to calmly trying to figure out what's going on and how to get out of it. They don't react like people should react for the most part. And while the movie twist is one that's you don't see coming and it's kind of an interesting take, the fact that one of the titles of is Ghost Gunfighter and he only uses a gun when he's in one of his flashbacks as a gunfighter there. All of the other victims of the kids he uses a knife or a weapon on hand for. Whatever he just happens to find. The movie's a mess, and a dull mess, which makes it even worse. And just to spoil the hell out of this thing, when you get to the end, everyone is dead but two people. Then they manage to essentially... The way the flashback plays out is our ghost is the villain here, who's supposed to be gunned down in this climactic shootout scene. And he gets his gun full of blanks, he goes off and loads it full of real bullets before shooting up everyone and then, I guess, then himself, or it doesn't really clarify what happened to him, or maybe I was dozing too much to care, but anyway. So, our plucky teens find his bullet stash and replace those with blanks. So when he takes out the blanks, reloads it with blanks, and then they manage to cause everyone to survive their flashback, which allows them to fight off the ghost. Then they actually go into a big fight with him, which is boring. Eventually, they put down the ghost, and then the town is happy. And then, to remove all stakes entirely, they pretty much finish having like a flashback with one ghost lady who looks exactly like one of our teens because reasons that are never explained or gone into at all. I mean, you think if you're going that angle, because it looks like the ghost's love interest, that they would play with that some. They don't. It's just an interesting little tidbit that has nothing to do with the movie. And the ghost interacts with her a bit. That's it. The ghost of her ancestor or look-alike interacts with her a bit. The gunfighter ghost doesn't actually seem to notice or care, other than one little fake out that they pull. Anyway, like I said, to remove all stakes, they walk out, and everyone who has been killed by the ghost is back, they're fine, and the car is fixed, and they just drive off. Like nothing ever happened. No one remembers it except for those two. Making everything that happened before utterly pointless. This one is a hard sit. There's a lot of bad films on this one. Most of these are just mediocre, but Sorority House Vampires from Hell is a different kind of... It's a hypnotic train wreck. Ghost Gunfighter is just probably the most boring, and the name on it just throws you for it. Now, I have another one on here that I'm definitely going to watch this month. It's got to be one of my most... It's a bad movie that I don't think most people know about, and it's one that I just have to stare at, wonder at. I've had to show people that movie, but that one I'm saving for later in the month. This is a special kind of collection, so if you're a connoisseur of bad movies, look up this one. Oof. So, Ghost Gunfighter, / Last Chance, / High 2, one MacGuffin. It is dull. With nothing, not enough nearly redeeming it. Avoid this one. It's going to be a long month, guys. Going to be a long month.